Thank you.
5:30.
Yep.
We ready to go?
We are ready.
Are you ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, call a meeting to order. We have a roll call, please.
Gregor,
Here.
Jobs here, Godey.
Yep.
Honkala here, Hess.
Here. All right, let's stand for the allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, assuming this is being broadcast, just to clarify, our city administrator is unavailable today and our deputy clerk is providing the administrative support. So, the fourth item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Items marked with an asterisk are matters that we traditionally approve in one adoption motion. Unless counselors have any items that they would like to have removed from the consent agenda. Counselors, anything to be removed? All right, if not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Move. Support. Moved and supported. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is adopted. Let's see, appearances. Mr. Segler, if you want to appear before this body, now is your chance.
You see me, that's enough.
It's always a reward, but just checking. All right, so then we proceed to, I believe, the reports from staff members, starting first with the deputy clerk.
Yeah, so as Mayor Gregor mentioned, Luke is gone. He's actually at the Minnesota Rural Waters Association training this week, so he'll be back Friday. So just sitting in for him today. I did want to report that there was an error in the minutes from January. It's actually the public hearing minutes from January 17th. By law, we're not allowed to re-adopt, but it's simply that I didn't put everyone who was at the meeting. I just wrote C sign-in sheet, and that was a note to myself, but it was approved, so I apologize for that. If you'd like to see who was also present, stop in City Hall. We can get those minutes for you. Another item to report, kind of on the water board side of things. At the end of February, city staff worked with town clerk manager Jody Knaus to send out an East Range Water Board correspondence to the public. This is one of a few more we're going to have just to update the public on the status of the new water treatment plant. So you should have seen that in the mail. It went to every door direct mail. So it's just a little flyer sitting in your mailbox. So big thank you to Jody Knaus for all her efforts to get that together. She really did all of the
Don't be
work.
modest, that was great to get.
The every door direct mail is hard, but Jody really did the meat of it. So thank you, Jody. And then lastly, our volunteer recognition committee has now met, and we're going to continue to meet to reestablish the annual event to acknowledge and thank all the volunteers we have in our city and for our city. The date of
Know the price for that upgrade in the very near future. Other than that, it's starting to look like spring out there and hope snow melts, doesn't overflow our pit. So yeah, that's probably nice.
Fortunately, the storm sewer water goes away from the.
A little bit of it goes there.
Yeah. That completes your report.
That's it for me.
All right, city attorney, is there anything to report?
Just what's on the agenda, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Just to clarify, you are actually working on the franchise agreement too,
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna meet with Luke. I called today to come over and he was gone, so Zito and MediaCom, right, Lindsay?
yes.
Yeah.
All right, thanks very much. Rebecca's continued the orientation. Ashley's recently joined the staff as the circulation clerk. I don't recall any other matters of on the board there, and I apologize. I didn't realize that Jen wasn't going to be here tonight. So Let's see, I think we've had all the reports then. If we could proceed then to comments by the counselors on the activities they've been involved in. I think we start with our junior member, Counselor Hess.
I don't really have anything tonight. I got a couple items, but I want to talk to Luke about them first before I bring him up here, so.
Right.
I got a couple issues that's gonna have to be taken care of.
Very good. All right, thank you. Counselor Godey.
Well, one of the committees I'm on is the East Range Public Safety Board. It's basically the police department. And the last few meetings, we've been talking a lot about Chief Suler, and he's between 2 and 2.5 years before he retires. So that we've been going over information from an outfit, Northspan. They do succession plans for departments, and it's costly. So we're trying to figure out what we need and what we don't need. But he's going to be a tough one to replace. He's good at his job. Then as far as the fire department, there's been some talk about maybe having to replace the radios that are encrypted, so they'll be encrypted, but that would add thousands of dollars per radio. And I don't know if the towns up here can maybe see if that's worthwhile or if it's needed for our small departments, but you know, a radio for each person they've said it could be as high as $7,000 more for a radio. And that adds up to be money.
Mm.
And they also had a 3-hour training last month on bloodborne pathogens and like fire scene safety. It was really interesting. I stayed through it. I didn't think I'd make 3 hours, but I did. That's about it.
All right, thank you, Counselor Godey and Counselor.
To apply. And to add on to what Counselor Godey said about the East Range Public Safety Board with Northspan, just know, I want everybody to know that Tim Suler is not planning on retiring anytime soon, but this is a 2-year thing that they're planning. I mean, we've got big shoes to fill. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to be proactive versus reactive. And so we're getting a plan in place. That way we have 6 months where Chief Suler can actually train his replacement, his successor, if you will. So is that's okay to add to that, Dan? If there's anything else you wanted to add to it, that's fine.
Well, they're also looking at maybe restructuring the personnel to different titles and responsibilities. So, but nothing's been decided yet.
So again, that's like 2.5 years in the future. So again, proactive versus reactive. The youth activities coordinator update. Basketball has essentially wrapped up. They did have some boys and girls pony teams this year. They had some kids play at the Luskin, and he said that the numbers he felt were down. If anybody has any advice how to create some more excitement to help get these program numbers back up, he would love to hear your thoughts. So please reach out to Mark Gert at the school. Upcoming season, spring soccer is coming up. Registration is currently open and will close March 17th. It's held on Saturday, starting April 15th through May 20th. And they're offering spring soccer for pre-K, K through 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th through 6th. So registration can be found on the Mesabi East Recreation page of the school website. Registration is also currently open for summer baseball and softball and will close March 31st. They're hoping to end up with teams to participate in for baseball, T-ball. I don't know all the names of these, but CP Minors, Major Leagues, Babe Ruth, Legion, and then softball would be 8 and under, 10 and under, 12 and under, 14 and under, and 18 under. He's looking for future ideas.
he's been in contact with some people, but again, if you have ideas and things that you'd like to see or you get involved in, please contact Mark Kurt. He loves suggestions and ideas. And I think that's about it.
You're being unduly modest. I think accolades go to you for that wonderful event on Saturday that you
Thank
kind
you.
of sponsored and helped going. I didn't ever ride a sled, but was there to talk to a lot of the participants, and it was a perfect day. The morale and spirit there, and you said the turnout was much
The
better.
turnout was amazing. So last year we had 140 registered sleds. And we served about, I can't remember what we served in spaghetti, but this year we had 204 sleds registered. I know that there's more sleds in the ride. Some of the sleds didn't register. And we served over 250 spaghetti meals. We had great music. It was just a fun time. So, and the nice thing about it, it benefits our local American Legion.
Yeah. Well, you put together a good team for the event, and congratulations on that. So, that concludes your report?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, Councilor Hawkins.
Asking again about the citywide cleanup. Everyone likes to anticipate dates that they can start cleaning up their yards and cleaning up their neighborhoods. So that citywide cleanup, usually we plan it at least a month in advance. We haven't had a date yet for that. Richard and I sat on the Aurora Safety Committee, and they've addressed several safety concerns. And one thing they spoke about was National Night Out in Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
Last year they held it in Point Lakes, and when speaking with Chief Suler, he intended to also offer it in our community dually. So, or I don't know how it'll work, but something like that.
When would that be?
I think it's typically scheduled for August, they said, Richard. August is National Night Out. That's national holiday, so it's set up.
Usually like the first Tuesday, I know the town of Whitehead, I think theirs, and it was, a council meeting night in Aurora. I'm not sure.
What does it entail, National Night Out?
Usually they bring families out, like safety concerns here,
Mhm.
introduce them to the police, yeah, as well as fire department, EMS.
Okay.
They usually have games, it's children's events, it's more geared for children, but a safety event for the community.
Okay.
And typically they have their people leave their health lights on. But now I don't know if that's okay, but
As long as
Light
northern
pollution,
lights aren't
right.
predicted.
see, they don't even want them competing against one another, but, and then, caring for kids, we have our monthly meeting. We have a, park idea or project in mind, went through our committee, now it'll go to the Parks Committee. The Parks Committee meets the third Monday in April is their first meeting. So something else about, the parks is we could help the city with that splash pad by having the water run 24/7, right? And then we wouldn't have to worry about pit overflowing. If we open the hours of that splash pad a little more. It's an idea. Everyone likes to splash in the water. It's light at 9 o'clock at night.
Mhm.
Might be a solution.
That's for watching the stars.
Yeah.
And plus you can watch the,
That's excellent.
so, more from the Parks Committee when we meet, and, looking forward to, caring for kids, coming forward with their new project idea. So really exciting.
Yeah, great.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Counselor. Well, it's been a busy time since the last meeting. I thought it was the common interest, the community advisory panel that meets, that's sponsored kind of by Minnesota Power and PolyNet, provides a good forum for exchange of a lot of cross-range things. But one of the New Range Copper Nickel Corporation now has resulted from the merger, of the two companies, and Letitia Dietzen, the spokesperson there, was indicating they're already going to start hiring six new people. So I think this is our bellwether that there will be a ramp up on employment, and hopefully some of those workers and their families can be part of the community here. The other interesting part was they had a workforce development panel that really underscored how much assistance is available from Minnesota North Forest, and even through the Essentia folks to help people transition or advance in their respective employments as opposed to just finding new jobs. And I wasn't aware of that sort of dimension of the job recruitment or workforce development economy. Celebrate Aurora, they're participating along with the Legion on April 1st. Legion burger feed with entertainment, food. Statewide officials are going to be there to celebrate the history and the new improved facility there. They, at the same time, sort of a low-key, the community spirit raffle that was like the former Lions Club raffle is going to be started at that time, and tickets will become available. July 3rd plans are progressing, and sponsor and contributor letters are going out, and some people might look for those. Pickles and Pam are going to be the grand marshals of the parade. East Range Joint Powers Board, there's a potential, a woman named Karen Kraus of a childcare facility in Biwabik, and not publicly disclosed possibility of a child care provider in the city. Minnesota Housing Partnership is starting to do more of its rollout based on the housing surveys that were performed earlier under the kind of tutelage of the North Span Group, and business recruitment and expansion with a target on East Range marketing efforts is also ramping up. We already mentioned the Volunteer Action Project, water project. Jeff may comment upon this, but the House bonding bill has allocations that are anticipated to be more than sufficient to refund the programs of the Public Facilities Authority, and therefore give the water project its last at least $5 million grant. And in addition to that are the funding $630,000 for renovations or continued renovations of the community center, and the $2.5 million appropriation really to the DNR, but to enable us to develop the dewatering plan for the future for the St. James pit. The water project itself, let's see, city administrator and I met with the new Senator Farnsworth, and oriented him to both the city facilities, which he wasn't very familiar with. He had door knocked here, but he hadn't gone through the facilities. And he got a tour of the water treatment plant, and he has these vivid images now. And we said the bonding bills are going to shift over to the Senate, so we wanted him to have that going forward. The project itself is waiting for the grant, but the EPA and DNR environmental reviews and hydrology are taking place. We've had informational sessions in addition to the mailing with the Range Building Trades Association, which was an organization I wasn't familiar with, but was very attentive and interested in the project as it might affect the contractors up here on the range. Presented to the mayor's meeting, and then we did the direct mailing. So we're trying to get the word out, and I don't know if any of you have heard feedback. I've gotten a few comments very positively that they felt that we were being more transparent about something there. So that's good. We're doing a project labor agreement, title actions to acquire the lands, and hope to be out for bid later this spring. Let's see. I'll be down at the League of Minnesota Cities lobbying day on Thursday. And then just to remind you, what I think you got in the mail was the announcement about the Habitat for Humanity annual dinner that went out on March 23rd for those that hadn't gone to it. And I noticed that Councilor Gross is shaking her head. It's really a very interesting both networking opportunity and information update there. So that completes the mayor's report. So moving on then to old business. City attorney, I'm assuming we're not taking any action on the corrective sale of.
Not yet.
All right, we've found fascinating to monitor the progress of that. So next is on the costume group, and I think we still have Jeff Anderson on the session here. Jeff is with the costume group. they're at this point principal lobbyists. Is that fair to say, Jeff?
Well, it's better than hack lobbyist, I suppose.
All right.
Principal, yeah. Mr. Mayor and, okay, go ahead.
Just going to say, if you can, the council's concern was, since the firm's been retained and paid for many months on lobbying activities, and there hasn't really been a prior opportunity for a report, if you could kind of fill us in on what kind of lobbying activities you've been doing, your firm's been doing on behalf of the city.
Mr. Mayor and council members, absolutely. And if you don't mind, can I start with a little legislative update on what's happening currently here at the legislature, and then move into discussion about specifically what we're up to and what we've been up to. It was talked about earlier that the Minnesota House voted on a bonding bill last night, and it has been referred to as the 2022 bonding bill, because if you recall last year, which is the traditional bonding year, that even years are traditionally the years the legislature will pass a bonding bill, they did not get one done. And so with a backlog of over $5 billion in requests, more than that now, $6 billion in requests, the legislature wanted to clear the deck of some of these projects that have been in the queue a little longer than others. And so projects that had been on the bonding tours before, that had had hearings before, were considered for this bill. And as you know, Aurora, the community center, and St. James Pit were both included in that particular bonding bill, $630,000 for the community center project, and then $2.5 million granted to DNR in the city of Aurora for $2.5 million. That bill now heads to the Minnesota Senate. And when you pass a general obligation bonding bill, the Constitution of the state of Minnesota requires that it be a supermajority that passes it. And so with narrow majorities in both the House and Senate, the DFL needed Republican votes. And last night in the House, they needed 11 votes. They got 22 Republicans to vote for the bill. So it was a very bipartisan bill in the House. In the Senate, they need 7 Republican votes. And right now, the senators have held a press conference yesterday saying, for now, that bill is dead on arrival until the DFL majority in the Senate consents to allowing some tax breaks to be passed. At the top of that list is the Social Security tax exemption. And the DFL maintains that the tax bill is always the last bill to be passed in the legislative session. So we're not going to do tax breaks or any tax policy early. So they're, the heads are butting, and we'll see, I think, in the coming few weeks, whether or not there's some agreement as to being able to get that over the finish line. And I'll tell you, obviously, Representative Liz Lagarde voted for the bill and worked very hard to make sure that Aurora and other range projects were included in the bill. Senator Farnsworth is one of the new faces at the legislature, and I was just talking to him today about his visit with you, Mayor, and to the city. And he has told me he wants to vote for a bonding bill. He's plans on voting for a bonding bill, but he's only one of his members that need to vote. So they need at least 6 more votes from that caucus. But he, again, is very supportive of the projects that are in the bill and supportive of bonding in general. So again, we'll see in the coming weeks where this goes. My prediction is they'll figure something out by the end of March. Now, in the meantime, with all of the backlog of projects, they're continuing to now hear bills in both the House and Senate for another bonding bill that they want to pass by the end of session, May 22nd. They want to pass 2 bonding bills this year. And then they want to be on track for the 2024 bonding bill, which means It's the traditional bonding year. They want to do a bonding bill next year. So really, there's 3 bonding bills here in the span of a year and a half that the legislature is aiming at getting done. I think that's pretty aggressive. I'll feel better once they get the first bonding bill passed before they start talking about a second or a third bonding bill. So for communities that didn't make it into this bonding bill, there's more opportunities to be included as we move forward. Other issues that impact the city that are in front of the legislature this year, I talked about LGA. Representative Liz Lagarde, who is the chair of the House Property Tax Division, is carrying a bill that would increase local government aid. I looked up the spreadsheet for the city of Aurora. His bill as it stands right now would be about $107,000 a year increase for the city. And then there's a push to tie inflation to that as well. So that amount is tied to inflation and would increase accordingly. So that is making its way through, but I don't expect to see a lot of those tax provisions come together until a little later in the session. A lot of new faces at the legislature, and I'll say that ties into much of the work, or a lot of the work that we've been doing on behalf of the city. It is bringing these new legislators up to speed on our projects and our proposals. Senator Farnsworth is one of them. I've spent a lot of time with him talking about both some of the past work that the city has done with the legislature, as well as the proposals that we had in front of the legislature this year for the community center and for the St. James Pit. So over the course of the time that we worked for the city, when we were first retained, we worked on some very technical work related to amending a previous bonding bill from 2018, as well as a lease issue between Aurora and the town of White in St. Louis County. We were then able to secure an LCCMR grant for the city related to the studying of the St. James Pit, a $259,000 LCCMR grant. I forget if it was Becky or Stephanie that we aided in the application project for the community-directed spending request that ultimately was successful for the water project. And I know Senator Smith had a nice event with everyone. Was that this past fall at this point? It's all blending together. Aiding in the application with the IRRB for the community infrastructure grant that was awarded this past December. And then, of course, the community center project and the St. James Pit project. So working with legislators, helping and assisting in the application process, and then helping to shepherd those through, whether they be at the legislature or at the IRRB or in other facets. So when we're tasked with a project, we go to work on behalf of the city, and I think we have been able to deliver over the last few years some important projects for the city, and we hope to continue to be able to do that. And in talking about future needs and future funding for the council and the administration to be looking out at 2024, 2025, 2026, the DFL wants to do a bonding bill every year that they're in charge, and they are in charge, at least in the Senate, for the next 4 years. So we should be thinking out and thinking about other needs that the city may have. And then there are also other opportunities like LCCMR, where we were successful with that initial grant. Other communities around you have been successful in other areas, whether those be campgrounds or trailheads or just trails in general. And there's no reason that we couldn't look at those options for other projects as they become, as the council desires. So with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions, any more detail on the legislative session or what's to come.
Just one thought that came to me, I don't know, my fellow counselors, how experienced they are with lobbying or not. Could you differentiate kind of what role you play in the legislative process as opposed to, say, our senator or a representative, you know, who obviously have some partisan alignments, and how, how you do that dance between the various caucuses? Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, council members, absolutely. And my background, for those of you who don't know, I have worked in private business and small business and for years, but I served on city council, and I served on a congressional staff, and have had experience at the local, state, and federal level in government. And so I think it's easiest to use this example. At the federal level, our member of Congress, Pete Stauber, he's got about 20 people who work for him. And each of those people are experts in certain areas, whether it be transportation, whether it be agriculture. There's people, that's their focus. Our state legislators, because it is considered a quote unquote part-time job, even though they work year round, they do not have staff, and with the exception of an assistant. And in the House, Representative Lislegard say he shares his legislative assistant with another member of the House. So they have a half-time employee. Our senators have a full-time person who is their assistant. And those people mainly help keep track of schedules and things of that nature. So when you have a lobbyist, we end up in many ways acting as a staff person or a resource to these legislators, if you will. And for somebody like Senator Farnsworth or Representative Lislegard, we have information on projects in their district for the city that we may represent or the school district we may represent. And we help them by talking to other legislators, talking to committee members, talking to other people who might be in the same situation we're in advocating for our projects. We end up talking to both sides of the aisle. I work just as closely with Senator Farnsworth as I do with Representative Lislegard. And we try to have that trust built where they know when they talk to us about a particular issue or looking for information that they're going to get facts, and they're going to get the real scoop from us. So we pride ourselves on being able to have those relationships on both sides of the aisle, from leadership all the way down to the most junior member. And that ultimately helps projects get across the finish line and helps us be effective at our jobs, and again, be a resource for legislators.
Councilors, other questions? Right. I noticed our packet contained a proposed contract that would cover the year ahead. I feel at a little bit of a disadvantage since our city administrator isn't here. But councilors, I'd kind of look for direction by you. Should we table further consideration to when we have the city administrator here, or should do you want to make a decision tonight? Or
I think he should be here.
I agree.
all right. Well, then is there a motion? I don't want to cut you off, Jeff. If you were anticipating other questions that you wanted to respond to or not.
Mr. Mayor and council members, I will just say this. It's an honor to represent the city of Aurora and to work on your behalf. And I would like to make sure that you all have my cell phone number, email address, anytime folks have questions. If you're going to be in St. Paul, if you have anything you need in terms of an update or questions about these various processes, please don't hesitate to contact me. I work for you, and I'm always on duty to be able to respond and be in touch. So, and a plug again, if you are coming to St. Paul or the Twin Cities, come to the Capitol. Let us set up some meetings for you. The legislators like to see their constituents. they like to hear from mayors, city councils, and city administrators. And so you have a bit of an advantage, I would say, because your state representative, you all probably know where he lives and can go knock on his door. Not every community has that. So feel free to come down and knock on his door in St. Paul, and we'll help facilitate that and coordinate that. And so thank you. Again, it's an honor to work with all of you.
Okay, appreciate that. The only problem we have with the knocking on his door, we can't knock on his door in Aurora because he's always down in St. Paul. Working away. It seems that way.
'Tis that time of the year. Yeah, thank you.
I'd entertain a motion to table for next meeting. Is there a
I'll
motion?
make the motion.
Move, support.
Okay.
Councilor Godey, made the wire there. Seconding. And any further discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, Jeff. Good luck down there. It's like being in the midst of a gladiator fight, no? So,
Some days, yes. Thank you all.
Thank you. Moving on. If it's fine, my. All right, that completes our old business. Moving to new business, 17.1 is the Aurora Fire Department pancake feed. Deputy Clerk, do you want to fill us in on what we're supposed to be doing there?
No, this is annual thing. It basically, because it's the Relief Association and not the Aurora Fire Department, they have to go through this process. So it's just something we do every year.
All right, so basically we're waiving the fee for the.
Waive the fee. Yep, for the.
No conflict with any other group.
No. Nope. And it's on a Sunday, so it's, yeah, not our busiest day of the week, really, but.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve the report of the pancake feed there?
What is the date?
It is going to be April 16th, Sunday, April 16th. Mark your calendars, everyone.
17.2 has to do with the rink attendant. We have a resignation in the packet there, and the action item for us is to accept David Cardisto's resignation with regrets. I don't know that we need to go into all the reasons of why he's leaving, but our season's substantially over, so that's a blessing in that sense.
Right.
So is there a motion to
I'll
accept?
make a motion to accept it with regrets.
Right, so moved. Is there support?
I'll support it.
Moved and supported by Councilor Godey. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Accepting with regrets the resignation there. 17.3, that's Bolton and Macon. I think we're deferring that. Is that correct?
Yep, they were unable to make it, so we'll just move that to next meeting, and Luke will be at the next meeting too, so.
All right, it does that require a motion to table it till
Yeah.
next meeting? Motion to table that to the
I'll
next.
make a motion.
Moved, support, moved and supported for discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's tabled. And reorganization committee, in light of Director Thuringer's resignation and the fact we have a city administrator on board now and various other staffing needs, we had a meeting, or Lindsay and Luke and I had a meeting, and he very much would like to have the formation of a reorganization committee. And he's indicated there in the materials, the composition of what he might think would be appropriate. The objective of the committee being to just really take a fresh look at how we're marshaling our personnel resources for the various challenges and opportunities of the city, and trying to see if we can modify the organizational structure in some more productive way. I think the intent he has of the committee is that they would look into a lot of those options, and then either on one occasion or more over the next few months, bring it back to the council so that we have getting to the point that Councillor Jobs was making about the police department, some proactivity to be able to sort of lend to any recruitment efforts we have and any revisions of job descriptions, the whole implications or field of implications that come from personnel changes. And so I have to confess, I'd love to be on the reorganization committee, but I don't, how eager are the rest of you to be on that? And how we can have a council determination of who should be on it? Anybody else given thought to it?
Can I nominate somebody?
All
I
right,
would like to nominate Councillor Hess for that position.
all right.
I would support that nomination. Is there
Would
any
you,
other
would you accept
interest?
that? You accept that, okay.
What's-
What about you, Dan, any interest?
Well, either the mayor, if we have three, then we're into.
Yeah, we just need two.
Well, I haven't been nominated yet.
Oh,
So nominations are still open.
Well, I know you're in a lot of stuff, so
Yeah,
I mean,
I-
I would,
I wouldn't be against being on it, but if the mayor wants to be on it.
Well, Councilor Job,
I know your plate's full. You had 2 pages full of reports. So.
Yeah. I would not, I mean, if you have an interest in getting involved in it and everything else, I would support a nomination of you.
I've got the time.